Black Lives Matter leader melts down when confronted about stealing donations to fund lavish lifestyle. How many Black Lives Matter activists turned out to be dipping into the stash? I told y'all from the very beginning of Black Lives Matter, this Marxist, lesbian Marxist organization, leftist organization, communist organization was don't really care about Black lives. I've been saying that. And the whole thing was a scam. I've been saying that since its inception, because I actually went to their initial website and read what they stood for. They were anti-family, anti everything that most Black people are for, and I called them out on it, and I was called all types of coon and all these other terms they call they call people like myself that speak truth to these fake organizations that really don't care about Black people. And it comes out, it seems like every year a new Black Lives Matter person get caught dipping their hands in, trying to pull the funds out and misappropriating these funds. So we're going to talk about it, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Slay News. And they report that a once celebrated Black Lives Matter activist who raised more than $1 million in donations for her Boston nonprofit, in quotation marks, nonprofit, right, is now preparing to plead guilty to federal fraud charges. Monica Cannon Grant stole the donation money and used it to fund her own lavish lifestyle. When confronted about her crimes, Cannon Grant lashed out with profanity. Cannon Grant, who was hailed as Bostonian of the Year by the Boston Globe magazine in 2020. However, things have taken a dramatic turn as the BLM leader now faces 27 counts alongside her late husband, Clark Grant. Prosecutors accuse her of siphoning charity funds from her organization, Violence in Boston, Inc., to cover personal expenses. Instead of using the money for fighting racism, Cannon Grant spent the donor cash on treats for herself, including vacations, nail salon trips, rent, car payments, and restaurant bills. Doesn't this sound similar to someone else we know? You know, Umar Johnson. I'm waiting for the shoe to drop for him because he's doing the same thing. But the thing with Umar Johnson is people are still giving him money, which I don't understand. These scammers continue to scam the Black community. It's not right. But I digress. When asked about the case, Cannon Grant erupted in an expletive-laden tirade. She said, quote, "Respectfully, F you," she wrote in one email to the Daily Mail reporter. "You wasn't reaching out or interested in my side of the story when I caught this case 4.5 years ago, and you wasn't reaching out when my deceased husband was murdered. So yeah, F you." Wow, her husband was murdered? Cannon Grant later cursed out the Daily Mail in another email, but refused to answer questions. Court filings now confirm that the activist intended to change her plea under Rule 11 of the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure, which signals an imminent guilty plea or no contest plea. A federal judge has scheduled trial proceedings for October 14th. From Boston hero to fraud defendant, Cannon Grant skyrocketed to prominence in 2020 after organizing one of Boston's largest marches following George Floyd's death and forging partnerships to provide free meals during the pandemic. Media outlets and city leaders showered her with praise, branding her one of the state's top social justice advocates. But according to prosecutors, behind the scenes, she was siphoning off money from donors and pandemic relief funds. An investigation revealed that Cannon Grant was paying herself $2,788 a week from the charity starting in late 2020, despite publicly claiming she drew no salary. So she lied out the gate. I mean, there's nothing wrong with accepting the salary. You know, you have to, I guess, you have to pay yourself for, for the work that you're doing. So there's nothing wrong with that. But she lied about it. She lied and said she wasn't doing this though. And then we got laundering. That is definitely illegal. Laundering a $10,400 grant earmarked to feed children through a church to pay her back rent. That is despicable. That is evil. Where you're taking money that was given to you to feed children to pay your rent. That is some evil stuff right there. That is wrong. Using public and private grants to cover living expenses, even as her nonprofit publicly claimed to be feeding families. According to evidence presented by investigators, Cannon Grant texted her husband in March 2021, quote, "Unemployment caught my ass. Asked me to provide documents by June unless I'll have to pay it back. I have to pay it all back." Wow. The charity was shut down in 2022 after its board fired her. Cannon Grant downfall has been marked by constant turnover in her legal team. That tells me that she's really not a good person. They don't want to deal with her. But she has gone through 5 defense attorneys, which each new lawyer delaying proceedings as they shifted through thousands of pages of her case files. Her current attorneys, George Ovine and Emma Notice McCarnaky, I'll be killing these people's names, took over in June after her previous lawyer was suspended from practicing law a while. So that really didn't have anything to do with her with that last one. Her lawyer was suspended. But if Cannon Grant enters a guilty plea, it would represent a dramatic fall for one of Boston's most high-profile activists during the height of the BLM's influence. Once celebrated by Democrats and the media as a face of justice and progress, Cannon Grant is now poised to become a convicted fraudster whose nonprofit collapsed under the weight of corruption. How many times the Black community get fooled by these so-called activists? They really don't do anything to help the community, the Black community, because if they did, they would be at the abortion clinics protesting abortions of Black babies. If they did, they would be out here in the neighborhoods protesting the neighborhood violence. But all they really care about is putting money in their own pocket and pushing the Democratic agenda. They really don't care anything about helping the Black community. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.